Like, how do you authentically ask, hey, what are the things that I need to work on or change, or what do I need to be doing better? Because I suspect myself and or maybe the character Elijah Campbell going to their wife and being like, hey, man, how can I be a better husband? What can I do better? You're going to get the first couple times you ask, you're going to get the, oh no, you're doing great. Everything's fine, honey. Our marriage is fine. Like there's just the, there's the disease of it's fine in America. Oh, it's fine. It's fine until it's not. And then you find out, the person is OD'd or the marriage is falling apart or the kids hate their family. It's like, we have a real problem with like the cordial, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's good. It's fine. It's fine. And then you find out on social media, they got divorced. So if you are a husband or wife in the scenario where you're like, ooh, there might be some things that I need to improve on. How do you even start that conversation with your spouse who, to your point, is probably loyal to a fault if they're your spouse and don't want to tell you all the places you're screwing up?
Oh, it's so good. Well, I'll tell you, this is the first time I've had to think about that question because my wife is so brutally honest with me that like people are like, is your wife Rebecca? I'm like, She's not letting me get away with anything for 10 years. They can let me get away with anything for 10 years, let alone 10 years. But it's a great question because I think there are a lot of marriages out there where someone is politing their way into being completely fed up with their marriage. And my answer to you is, so there's a lot of, so often the headspace that we get into, and this is the ego wanting to be in control because that's its main goal, is to be in control of our experience so it can get what it wants and avoid what it doesn't. But it's to, how can I get my wife to be honest with me, which is actually a controlling question, right? You can't get your wife to be honest with you. Like there's nothing you can't reach into her psyche to make that happen. How can I become a safe enough space to tell the truth to? That's a question you can answer. And it's not one that happens overnight. How can I become the kind of person that when I say, give me honest feedback about what you want me to change, the person, the spouse that we're asking that question of goes, he's really interested. He really wants to know. He's really going to act on this. This isn't going to come back to bite me, when he chews on it for because I've done this, when he chews on it for 3 days and then comes back all resentful that I wanted to change that one. Darn it, he's providing everything for everybody. And now I want him to do what, right? When there's that trust that you're the kind of person who can be spoken truth to, that's what you can control, is becoming that person.
Right.
And
because I can see
how
a lot
of work that goes into that.
I can see how this plays out, right? It's like you have that conversation and then your wife's like, well, hon, I'd love for you to lose a few pounds, right? Because then you could be more active with the kids and you'd look a little better naked and you'd live longer, you'd be healthier. And then after chewing on it for 3 days, the husband comes back and says, hey, you know what, bitch? You cook the food, you go to the grocery store, that's why I'm fat. You let me get the third round of all you can eat sushi. Like, and then you've destroyed the safe space where you have any chance of your wife ever telling you the truth again. And by the way, thankfully, my wife and I have not had this conversation. She does not call me fat. I'm just projecting here for other men that might be watching. But you can see how, like, if you don't become the person that can create the safe space, you blow this all up the first time you ask the question.
Whether that ego reaction comes immediately or it comes 3 days later or 3 weeks later. She's learning a lesson about how safe is it really to tell you what I think. And so I think, when you make significant shifts in any relationship, I think it's okay to name those shifts. Like, so before I ask you what you would want me to do differently in our marriage and in our life, I need to tell you that first, I'm trying to become the kind of person who can really hear those things and not get defensive about those things. And these are the ways that I'm trying to do that. So hold off. Like, I'm not going to ask you that question yet. How will you know that I'm a safe person to say that to, that I'm not going to get defensive about that? What would that look like? And have that conversation first. And then later at some point, maybe we're ready to have the conversation about, okay, now there's the trust there that I'm going to be able to receive this. Go ahead and share with me your feedback. Yeah.
this is going to be hard for me because my wife is so naturally good at this. Like, my wife's the type of person that will come out and be like, hey, do I look good in this dress? And she wants the honest opinion, right? And then if I say, I'm not a huge fan, right? It's just not my style. I don't think it looks particularly good on you. She'll be like, oh, cool, let me go try something else. And there is no resentment. There is no bringing it up 3 hours later and being like, well, you thought I looked fat in that dress. My wife is so good at like holding space for honest feedback. There's very few things that I can talk to her honestly about and feel like, I'm setting myself up for the okie doke where this is going to come up in a fight 3 months from now. Yeah. So I've got a lot of work to do because I am not particularly good at constructive criticism. And I found this, I guess this is a sexist thing. I'm not particularly good from constructive criticism from women. Like if one of my guy friends pulls me aside and is like, hey man, you're kind of being an asshole, or hey, I didn't like the way that this went, I take it with a like, okay, here's a bro, he's trying to grab me caveman style and tell me where I'm screwing up. When I hear it from a female, and this is probably some deep-seated mommy issue, it does not land as well. And do you mind if I share a story with you?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.